Coming up next on Jersey Matters, get ready to pay more for gasoline in New Jersey. We will talk with the guy who represents New Jersey gasoline retailers, and they say they're happy about this. Well, sort of. Also, there's an important fundraiser coming up in New Jersey that creates art and builds homes. We'll tell you about that and more because Jersey Matters. Welcome to Jersey Matters. I'm Larry Menti. Well, it was nice while it lasted. New Jersey went from having some of the cheapest gas prices in the country, and now it'll have one of the most expensive gas prices in the country because the 23-cent gas tax increase has passed. To talk about the effects of that is Sal Risavalto, who is the executive director of the New Jersey Gasoline Association. And your association represents gasoline retailers.
We represent the small business independent retailers. Yes.
Are they happy about this?
Well, no, they're not happy, but I have been trying to prepare them for several years that this was an inevitability because of the mess that the state of New Jersey has made out of the Transportation Trust Fund. I've been trying to prepare them for about 2 years that this was going to happen. And one of the things that was important to us was to make sure that the tax didn't happen in a bad way, because there were bad ways that this could have been implemented. And basically, we've spent the last 2 years trying to get legislators to agree that if they don't implement the tax in a bad way, we wouldn't oppose them.
What's a good way of implementing a tax?
Well, the good way is the way they did it, and that is simply to increase the motor fuels tax. A bad way, and we had gotten indications of this several years ago, and it is what I set out to stop, was there was an effort to put sales tax on gasoline. As you know, gasoline is exempt from sales tax. So if every time you purchased gasoline, we had to add 7% sales tax, that would have been an administrative nightmare for my members. It would have been an administrative nightmare for the state to collect that money, and we believe it would have just been bad public policy.
Okay, but that didn't happen. The interesting thing to me is that you like the fact that this happened now, because had it happened in a year or in a year and a half, it would have been worse, according to you.
Well, I'm pleased that they were able to come up with some compromises that added some tax relief. The estate tax, for instance, is something that's very important to my members. So I was very pleased that that was in there. I am fearful that if the 23 cents tax did not pass now, that they simply would have kicked this can down the road another year or two, and the increase then would have been about 40 cents, and there wouldn't have been any tax relief. So this was, even though this was a bitter pill, this was a less bitter pill to swallow than that bitter pill.
And explain why you think that would have happened, because right now we have a Republican and Democrat in the executive and the legislative, and so they came to that compromise where if you had one party in control, you may not have gotten this deal. Is that correct?
Well, I believe, yes, if there was one party control, that the tax relief never would have been on the table, and that a higher tax amount would have been on the table. That would have been a much more bitter pill to swallow.
Let's talk about the effect of this. I know the money's needed. People have been sitting in that chair from the business community to the political community, Republicans and Democrats saying this was needed. So I think everybody said it was needed. However, when I drive from Pennsylvania to New Jersey, I wait to fill up with gas. I know a lot of people in New York that do the same thing because they want to get the cheaper gas. They're driving that way anyway. There's no incentive to do that anymore. Will there be fewer people buying gas in New Jersey, the commuters?
You are incorrect. The difference between Pennsylvania's gas tax and New Jersey is why you will still want to fill up in New Jersey, because ours will still be 13 cents a gallon less than Pennsylvania. So that incentive still exists. The difference between New York and New Jersey will be less of a delta, but it should be somewhere between 5 and 10 cents, so that price difference will still exist.
You don't think it's going to diminish the amount of people that buy gas in New Jersey?
I do believe that some of the northern counties will feel some of an effect because the difference between New York's tax and New Jersey's tax is going to be less. And some New York people may not find that enough of a reason to purchase in New Jersey, but we think overall they still will.
I've told you that we had people from all walks of life, from all political spectrums sitting in that seat that said this was needed. They just varied on the price, on how much it had to be. Do you agree that this was absolutely needed?
I do agree it was absolutely needed.
And when will it take effect?
It should take effect 14 days after the governor's signature went on the paper, or November 1st, whichever is later.
And you played a big part in that.
Well, initially they were trying to pass this at the 11th hour at the end of June, and it was appearing as if this was going to go into effect on July 1st. And I brought it to the attention of those people that were writing the legislation that if they in fact did that, many of my members would never get the word to change their price at midnight on July 1st. In fact, it was the 4th of July holiday weekend. Many of them would not have even been around.
Do you believe there will still be another tax? Because many people say this wasn't high enough.
I think that this should hold them off for a while. I do believe that by the time that another tax is discussed, which should be about 8 years, maybe 10 years away, we won't be talking about a cents per gallon tax increase. We may at that time be looking at a vehicle miles traveled tax where an additional tax will be placed on people for the miles they travel in their vehicle. One
of the things you heard from Jerseyans up and down, north and south, was, well, we pay the highest taxes, we pay property tax, we have this estate tax, we have this inheritance tax, but you know what, at least we have cheap gas. And now that's gone away. Tell me, please, that they're not going to take away the fact that somebody pumps your gas for you.
Well, if I have anything to do with it, I am going to see that that does get changed, and here's why, and you'll like that.
Okay.
Because if self-serve were permitted in the state of New Jersey, and I'm not saying mandatory self-serve, this would be where the motorist gets a choice to pull into a gas station and pick between self-serve and full-serve. If you could pull into a gas station tomorrow and purchase your gas and fill your own tank, you'd pay about 10 cents a gallon less, and I have a feeling you would like that.
And how about the retailers?
Well, the retailers, it's a wash to them. They would save on the employee that would pump your gas. And the retailers have a very difficult time finding employees. So that same retailer that has a difficult time finding an employee inside the convenience store would likely move an employee from the gas pumps into the convenience store because now you'll be able to pump your gas. I'm also willing to bet that when you pull into a gas station now, there's a lot of pumps already blocked off by orange cones. So the convenience to you is going to go up tenfold because instead of waiting online to have your gas pumped or waiting for an attendant to get to your car, you'll be able to go right over to another pump, fill it yourself, pay 10 cents less, and move on your way.
All right, thank you, sir. Sal Risavalto, who is the executive director of the New Jersey Gasoline C-Store and Automotive Association. By the way, this gasoline tax was only one of the big surprises over the last couple of weeks in New Jersey. A couple huge political surprises. We'll talk more about that when Jersey Matters continues.